right, everybody have a good day today? Good, man. Good crowd, good audience, good energy. And I want to tell you something about my wife and I. We were in Napa Valley this past weekend, and I have been speaking in San Francisco on Thursday and Friday, and you know, why would we get to San Francisco without going on over and just enjoying Napa Valley, right? And I knew I was starting to have this real positive influence on my wife when she woke up one morning and she said, you know what, I'm going to work on my book, Living with a Monster, right? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about right there. We're in Napa Valley, you know, it's typically a place you go relax. And now my wife is waking up thinking about writing her book. And that's really where this concept came from, is obviously we coach about 600 people a month. And one of the common things I constantly hear from people is a wife say, I can't get my husband on board. A husband say, I can't get my wife on board. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Or they get into a coaching program, they start to accelerate their growth. They go home and they're really a different person because now they got big goals, they got big dreams, they got big visions. And the partner is there like, who is this person? Like where did this come from? Where did this drive and ambition come from? And so what I begin to see is it is incredibly difficult sometimes to live with a very driven person, okay? To live with what I call a living with a monster, right? Sometimes they're thinking in the middle of the night. They're waking up at crazy hours. They got, you know, like me, I take a box of books or a suitcase for my books on vacation, and my wife's like, we're going to vacate, like we're going to take a vacation. And I'm like, yeah, but I got to have some business books to read on vacation. And so sometimes what I started to see was this friction between the partners, you know, and we even called it unpartnered growth. That's not a word, but we made that word up, was because I would see one partner growing and the other partner not growing. And so as I built this coaching program, one of the things I said is I want to build it so that everybody is getting coached. I want stuff for the couples. I want stuff for the kids. I want stuff for your faith. I want stuff for all parts of a person's nature because I believe in the whole person, and the whole person is a body, mind, heart, and spirit. Okay? So my wife is writing the book, Living with the Monster. She's got most of the book done. And if you don't know the story, I actually volunteered her to write that book on Facebook one night. And you know why? Because I said, look, this is a book that needs to be written, and I think you're the person that needs to do it. And part of our marriage is I push her and challenge her. She balances me. You understand what I'm saying? We push each other. And so I think that's part of the relationship, is how do you push and challenge each other? You know, Tommy was talking about you going and getting one of your new things. And one of the things he was saying was, he was proud of you because you took the initiative. You didn't, you know, and where you are today versus where you were a year ago, and how your thinking is evolving. And the only way to evolve the thinking of a couple is what? Get around people that think bigger. You guys were talking about it today in Mount Juliet. Part of your thinking now is who you're associating with, who you're hanging around, what kind of conversations you're having, right? Okay, and sometimes you got to level up. So tonight I've brought in two very special guests. So one, I want you to give my wife a hand for working on that book, because I'm proud of her. And here's the sad part. It'll probably outsell my books 10 to 1. You know what I'm saying? But it's still revenue into the household, baby. I appreciate that. Okay? So I am proud of her for doing that. But we come in contact with some really special people from out in toward Phoenix, Arizona, that are doing really, really big things in the world. And I met this person after I spoke at 10X. We immediately had a connection with each other. And I said, hey, I want to be in your life in some capacity. And just to watch his growth and watch what he's doing, watch what they're both doing in their business. They basically built a very successful business where they have thousands of people that are on their team. They're really at the top of this arena, doing about $120 million of revenue in their health business. And they would tell you at one point in their life, just like Natalie and I weren't on the same page, they may not have been on the same page. He had his job, she had her job. They went to their jobs. They didn't talk about it. It was very, what he said yesterday, compartmentalized. Anybody ever felt that? I remember when Daniel Hodges told me one night, he said, man, I used to come home at night and not talk to my wife about the business because I thought it was a burden on her. And I didn't want to unload that on her. Then we went to a retreat with us and said one of the best things I did was see how we could include each other in the business. I include Natalie's talents in our business. Okay? And I think each one of you have talents. Well, these two have included each other's talents in their business. So I wanted to ask them to come tonight. They're doing lots of events. And Dr. Morgan sent me a text the other day, and she said, man, Doug and Thea, they're rock stars, man. They are true rock stars in their industry. So all the way from Phoenix, Arizona, they're going to share a very powerful message with you. And then at the end, we'll take some questions. So let's welcome Doug and Thea Wood. Come on down. It's all you, brother.
All right.
You're going to be kind of my podium there a little bit.
So, as Coach said, I met him at 10X. Was anyone else at 10X conference? About 8 of us. That was awesome. You know, I don't know. We'll get into our story, and T and I share a little bit different. So forgive us if we're a little too unplugged. We just like to keep it real. We tried to lie a few years ago, and it didn't look good on us, and so we're like, we're not going to tell stories anymore. We're just gonna say it like it is. But we went to 10X, kind of in one of those seasons that we were just kind of repurposing some expansion. And we'll tell you about what that was for us here in a few minutes. But by the time Sunday came around and we had just been hit, bam, bam, speaker after speaker, and I was all in. I was sitting up there and, you know, towards the front, and I was just taking notes. And all of a sudden, Coach Burt walks on the stage, and I said, before he even said a word, I said, there's something different about this guy. You notice it. You notice that he walks, he talks at a different level. And of course, the moment he started speaking, I said, I have to talk to this guy. And sure enough, I think you were out to lunch, but I went out to your sales table at the end and had a meaningful connection with Eric that was really transformational. I think the beginning of something. And I said, I need to talk to Coach because there's something special here. And I think Coach can help me for where we were at. And the very next day, I didn't know you were going to Phoenix. And Coach was in Phoenix, and I'm like, wherever you are, I will find you and hunt you down. And I did, and he's like, all right, man, like this guy wants to talk. But you know, when you're so close to greatness, and you know that, you know, you start to look for opportunities to make key connections. And I'm like, this is a key connection. And we met, we talked. And you know, I've been coaching with you ever since the last few months, and had some between our travels, not as much conversation as I'd like, but some meaningful conversations I think led to the expansion that we're experiencing and we're getting ready to walk into now. But Coach, thank you so much. We really appreciate you and the honor of being here. So,
well, you're in the Greatness Factory, and I know within each one of us there is a spark. And just to take you a little bit back to Doug and I's life, for the first 10 years of our marriage, we lived very silo lives. I was home with the kids. I took care of, you know, the home, raising our girls. I would help at the time we had a furniture store. I was supportive of him, but, you know, he didn't share much about how the business was doing. We had a good life. You know, he provided well. I could shop at Nordstrom. I didn't spend a ton at Nordstrom, but I could shop at Nordstrom, you know. You know, I had a nice car. We had the boat in the driveway. We had a good life, but we weren't satisfied. And we knew that there was more. We were always open-minded. Like we were these two kids. Like we're always, you know, went to conferences. We're looking to have breakthrough in our life, but we just couldn't scratch the surface. And it really came to a place when Doug and I kind of found a common goal in our life and came to this like central place of like, what do we want and what are we willing to do to go achieve that? Yeah. And so for Doug and I, that started really on a journey of first discovering health for ourselves in our marriage, both physically, mentally, spiritually. And we decided to go on the journey. So we're here tonight saying we are on the journey with you. We haven't said that we've arrived, but we are on the journey with you.
Yeah, so we may share a little too much tonight, so just bear with us because that's what we like to do. But you know, what Tia didn't know during that season was that she knew that I was her protector, but I was protecting her from too much. See, she didn't know that our business at the time was over $250,000 in debt. And I was assigned on to a very large building that I had my retail furniture store in. It was about $20,000 a month for this building, about 15 employees. And we went through a season. I don't know if Nashville got hit, but 2007, 2008 in Portland, let me just tell you, needed a lot of prayer and a lot of sleepless nights. And it was one of those seasons. And I was, like I said, we were 10 years into our marriage. I had 2 little girls. One of them's in the back, baby Kate, that I did not see. I was working, grinding, and I mean grinding 60 to 70 hours a week with no exaggeration, and coming home trying to put on a front for her that we were going to be okay. But deep down inside, I didn't know if we were going to make it. And, as a man, sure, there's pride, but then there's like, I've got to figure this out, and I don't want to put that burden on them. And during that time, I'd always been a big guy, but I'd put on a lot of weight and working like crazy. And I realized that I kept contending and praying for something that I wanted to see break through and bust through, but I found myself more miserable, more frustrated, and actually for us in our faith, more questions for God, saying, what am I missing? Like, why is this not clicking? Why am I not having, you can get into comparative reality a little bit to other people, but more so like, it's like, man, I think I'm doing everything right. I'm giving, I'm empowering others. I have a good product, I have a good service, and I'm falling deeper and deeper behind. And here I am, 30, 32 years old, on the verge of bankruptcy. Thea knew a little bit what was going on during that season, and I finally came to a point. It was Christmas time of 2008. I would say things were at an all-time worst. And I remember I was just in my store early one morning, and at that time we were so far off in different pages.
Yeah.
Like I said, Thea took care of the kids, and I did protect her from a lot, but we were more operating as roommates with a shared bank account, and we tried to show up to church on Sunday morning and make it look like everything was cool, and they were, but what we realized that our first 10 years from the day we said our I do and our values that we wrote to each other was that we began to have mission drift.
Yeah.
And the mission that Thea and I decided when we got married and the love that we had for one another, I think sometimes we allow marriage to happen to us versus us happening to our marriage. And we realized we had spent the first 10 years of our marriage in complete marriage mission drift.
Yeah.
One of the best things that happens was when I literally kind of threw my hands up one day, and I think it was more of a me and a talk with God. I was just like, you know what, I quit. And I literally said these words. I said, God, if this is your business, if you want it, have it, quit, I'm done. And I jokingly said, I'd rather go work at Taco Bell and just have my wife and my kids back.
I think was actually
what's that?
Godfather's.
Godfather's Pizza, yeah. But I was just joking to where you will do anything to get your life, your passion, your wife, your kids, and the time with them back. It's like, why is this all worth it? And it was actually about that time that when I said I quit a couple months later, oh sure, I think God took me up on it.
He did.
I started a going out of business sale on my business. I still didn't know if I was looking at bankruptcy or not. But I'd say that was probably one of the most meaningful times when I finally quit grinding something out, and I actually just kind of stopped and said, okay, maybe I need to take a higher vantage point, look at my life and go, am I on point? Am I on mission? Am I on purpose? To maybe there's more. And that was probably the first thing that I realized, and that I would ask you even here tonight, is confirming that you're on point and you're on mission with what you want for your marriage, but also for your business.
Yeah, and that came down to setting, it got a little messy. And I think in life, it's going to get a little messy before it gets better. And we had to go kind of and do a little surgery, and I would say it took a season of us really, like Coach Burt talks about, like we separated ourselves from what was normal, the friends, the family, like we got ourselves around like-minded people like you all in this room that were thinking higher, that were stretching us and growing us, and at the same time, we set our family values. What do we want to create, and what impact do we want to have, yes, on the world, but on our children? And setting ourselves apart, I think, in that season was such a key component, because we had to begin to look at the future based upon where we wanted to go looking at the current reality and setting out an action plan. And for Doug and I, that was really important in that season, and even to this day, is that we're not each other's coaches. We have coaches, we have, mentorship above us, and counselors, and at times in our life we'll go more into that, but we really set out that we're not each other's coaches, but we are on the same team, that Doug wants the best for me and I want the best for him, and to look at that, maybe elaborate on that.
Because I think right before that happened to you, and I think this is a big thing of getting on the same page, and at this time we were not working together, meaning in the same business. Now we happen to be blessed to work in the same business. But at this time, we were still had our roles. But part of this 10-year mark kind of internal surgery that we did was that we actually stopped and we got clear and rewrote what we call the Wood family values. We had the values that we wrote for marriage, but now that you live a little bit of life and you're like, we were just young, dumb, and in love, then it's like, okay, we're a hot mess here. Are we going to continue this pattern? And literally, we drew a line in the sand and we started rewriting the Wood family values. And I would say from the moment we put intentionality into what was important to us, what was important to our kids, and what was important financially, and we were able to prioritize them, we were able to get clarity. And by doing that, we set some common goals. See, I think that, I'm just going to go off for a second, that I think why this country is so divided is because everyone knows what they believe, but they forget that actually everyone values the same thing. People are so stuck on what they believe that we got all the, somebody said this last weekend, while everyone's left and right, I'm just going up. Yep. And, so it's just, let's focus on what's important. And that's something to do if you have not done that yet in your marriage. That changed the way we looked at things, because we realized we had a common goal. And at that time, sure, it was getting out of debt, but it was also focusing on time, values, and building the business that we were just starting, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And by doing that, we didn't care who happened to do the dishes that night, or who, I think, young, and I don't want to pick on nobody here, but I kind of do, is before Tia used to give me a hard time for going out with the boys every couple of weeks.
Golf or whatever.
And playing golf. It's like, well, didn't you do this? And we found ourselves keeping score on who did what and who did this. And even when it started contributing to the business and like settling into our roles, and we realized once we got on the same page, we didn't care who did what role, because it was all about the common goal.
Yeah. So what is your common goal? I really encourage you that you write that out and you make that an essential part of your processing as you leave here, that you make it an action step that you set in motion. What is your common goal? What are we creating as a family? And so we made that decision, and we had kind of a code word, like, what does this have to do with us creating an integrated life, being able to work collaboratively together and build our coaching organization at the time. And, if it was me staying up late to do emails and making calls and doing video chats with my clients, he would help with the kids. We collaboratively decided that, this is what our common goal is. And I can remember specifically it was, January 1st of 2011 or 12. I can't remember. Doug and I, like any year, you go down, write out your goals, right? Well, we had done that several years in a row and not ever achieving them. But this specific day, I said, babe, can we go downtown Portland? And there's this coffee shop there. Can we sit and write out some goals, like actually like attainable goals that we can move towards? And I remember after we sat down and wrote some things out, I remember looking in Doug's eyes and saying, babe, if we do not get out of our own way, if we don't get over ourselves, get over our insecurities, the rift between us, whatever, if we don't get out of our own way, we're holding our future of our children, our family, people's lives that are in the, literally on the other side of us breaking through. And so that was kind of our, when we would be like, this is getting hard, or, we weren't flowing, we would be like, what does this have to do with the people on the other side that are waiting for us to break through in this specific area so that they can break through? So that was our key component.
Yeah, so one of the things that Thea mentioned was once we both got on the same page, and I just want to pause for a second because somebody might be in the room going, this is cool, but my spouse isn't on the same page. Well, I think that's where we actually take personal responsibility and say, what can we do? Because there were seasons that Thea still fell back into a funk, but more so there were seasons that I fell into the funk. And so what we both agreed to do was both go get coaches. And somebody that had walked a mile in our shoe, but that's the first mistake we did make, was we picked the wrong coaches. Meaning, if the person that you're getting advice from hasn't achieved what you want to achieve, or isn't at least on the path empowering that, you might want to find a different coach.
Yeah.
And the mistakes I made was going to family, friends, and even, I want to be respectful here, spiritual leaders in your church that might have fear of us growing, or might have fear of us appearing to have a stronger marriage. And that's not what it is at all. It's just finding somebody. If you want to be a millionaire, go get coached by a millionaire. I mean, as simple as that. You want to have a thriving marriage, make sure you're getting coaching and counseling by somebody who at least has been through the games and then through the trenches. But the biggest thing that we had to do when we got not even started, because I know each and every one of us in this room are on the journey, but was embrace every single obstacle as the way. Because we lost over 100 pounds together on our program that we more now business coach for. But this program rocked our world, and the crazy thing was that we actually took our biggest place of pain to make it our place of reign. Like, the area that robbed our marriage and that has robbed our life since the day we were married. I mean, we were joking last night with Eric and his wife about what we all ate on our honeymoon night. And T and I were midnight, man. We're plowing through a pizza. I mean, there ain't nothing wrong with pizza, but, sometimes it can get a little obsessive. But health had always been a struggle for us. And I think it kept me down, it kept me low, it made me a tired father, I wasn't in the mood. I mean, just constant things like that. So when we actually got physically in order and our physical health came into alignment, it's amazing how we actually use that to help coach and empower other people.
Yeah, and so we really spent a season, and we still to this day, yearly invest in our marriage, whether it's going to a marriage conference. This year it's been investing in Coach Burt. Every season of our life, we have been super intentional in we know where we're at and we know where we want to go. Like, we got to find the person that can help us get there. And so just keeping your eyes fixed up and not not what everybody else is saying they're doing, but also where do you want to go and find the people? And hiring, the individual coaches, but I want to talk a little bit about breaking with soul ties and family patterns and cycles. And that was really important for Doug and I. Our families both were entrepreneurs, hard workers. They taught us how to work hard. And I think we live the fruits of our families in that way. But there was also generational things that we had to break with and decide that we're not going to partner with that anymore. And that's not going to be the way we think. And we're going to take personal responsibility, and we're going to play above the line, and we're going to embrace there's going to be obstacles. Food is my drug of choice. And it will constantly be my obstacle, but I am an overcomer, and I choose to take that power back, and I keep the right people in my path that surround me, that keep me accountable in my fitness and in all those areas of my life. So, in that process of moving from having a common goal, it really took us being intentional in investing each season in our marriage and in our family to be able to achieve, going from, yes, becoming millionaires, but beyond, and saying we can reach for more.
About, does everyone know what she's talking about when she says taking personal responsibility, playing above the line? Okay, and not too many. Why don't you go into detail a little bit about what that means?
Okay, well, I grew up in a home where, there was lots of yelling. There was, just ways that my family functioned. And I could either choose to bring that into our marriage and into our partnership, or I could choose to shift that because I wanted a better outcome, right? I'm not down on my family, I love them, but I take personal responsibility to grow in my emotional intelligence, my emotional awareness. I'm continually, each season, going back and saying, okay, how much have I grown in my emotional intelligence? I go and do that self-assessment that's online just to see where I'm at and where I'm growing and evolving in that. Not doing things the way that our family always did it or our friend groups always did it because that's what they always did, but choosing to say, no, we're of this world, but we're not, we choose to go above.
So playing above the line really is very simple. There's just a line, and above it is personal responsibility, abundance. There's two. Below the line is woe is me.
Blame.
Life happens to me. Blame. Somebody else's fault. Basically the opposite of abundance. And when we actually take personal responsibility, even on the days maybe Tia's not maybe operating at my frequency.
Being my best. Yeah.
Which is pretty hard to beat. Your best is pretty good.
You're good, babe.
But then there's the days that I'm not, to where it's like, you know what? I'm going to do my part, because and it's always going back to we are contributing to the same kitty, if you will, right?
Yep. And so I just would say, as I've navigated that individually and as a family, that one area of like playing above the line in all aspects of my parenting and how I, relationally with my family, has grown me leaps and bounds. So if you want to go, double what your income is now, I promise you, if you take those principles and you take personal responsibility and play above the line, that is where growth is going to happen in all areas of, yes, home life, but business life as well. So
I also want to talk about when in the middle of the trenches that we experienced. See, we didn't. I'll just share about. It was about 5 years ago. We made our first, where we could say yes, we'd made $1 million, and had that. I wouldn't call us a millionaire because that's a slippery slope at the time. But we realized what we did the first 5 years to do that, we just needed to rinse and repeat since then. But one of the biggest things and the hardest lessons that I learned was my respect and honor that I needed to step up and show Tia. Not that I was disrespectful, but there was one of our non-negotiables that is a part of the Wood family values is marriage is always first. But shortly behind that is what we're accomplishing and what we're achieving and the purpose that, the God-given purpose that He gave us to execute and to share. And so anytime there was, I would always, I'm just going to say it like it was, because I don't want people to think, well, just because Doug and Tia does this, I don't want nobody secretly elbowing saying you need to do what Doug does. So manage it to what works for you and your marriage and what's best. But there were multiple times when I had plenty to do and plenty of deadlines or plenty of even a scheduled coach Zoom with a coach on my team. And if something I could tell was not right with her, I would stop, put the phone away. I remember one time, I think, Tia, you threw my phone, and that was my clue. Okay? You're like, I'm so sick of this stupid thing. That was I missed some key clues before that, but that I would actually, what it means to her when I can look at her in the eyes and when she needs me, and I can literally take my phone and I set it on the opposite side of the room. I turn around and I just give her that 5 to 7 key minutes that she wants. Mm-hmm. It changes everything. Because when we got on the same page, it wasn't this constant, well, like gnawing at each other or even grind, like everything has to be so hard. Another things I learned when the kids come home, they love me so much. I like to think so. They do.
They do love me.
But honestly, they don't need 30 minutes of my time. But what they want is for when they walk in the door, for me to slide my computer aside, because I do work from home, and to be fully present with them and look them in the eye like they're the only thing that matters, because they are. But they see me giving sometimes 30 minutes here. And I'll tell you, a big red flag of mine was my oldest, Amaya. She it was a little over a year ago. Again, I'm still in this process, guys. She comes home and says, Papa, because she calls me Papa. She goes, Papa, can I get on your schedule? And I said, what do you mean, baby? What's up? She goes, well, I see you schedule and your schedule, and I just like to get on your schedule. She didn't really tell me why. And yeah, we had some special date nights here and there, but she just wanted to be part of the daytime schedule. One crazy time. And I'm like, baby, you're going on the schedule. When do you want it? Anytime. Pick a time. You know what? She couldn't even last 30 minutes. It was like 5-6 minutes. We were sitting there just talking, being fully present. Because remember, being a fully present father trumps being a millionaire.
Right.
Okay? Because I experienced it also while we're on it. Sorry, Tia, I'm diverting from the script, but I love it. Because not that we were attached to any script, because we don't. But I realized that that through that process, in this process, that nothing else matters except what matters. Sure, some people say keep the main thing. But I also reached a point, it was right before 10X. I was going through, I shared earlier, we were going through a repurposing time. And I think I call it more of a repurposing with expansion, saying, God, what's next? We've got too much time on our hands. We make more money than could have ever imagined. So blessed, have so much time freedom. But you realize, and Dave Blanchard calls it, what's your enough? How much is enough? What's your enough principle? How much is enough, Doug? Because you're not fulfilled, and I don't see you out buying a bunch of stuff. I'm like, it's not stuff, Dave. Just talk to Coach Bird about this. It's like, so what's next, big guy? What's next? What are we doing? And when you actually stop and look within and say, you know what? What is important? What is most important? It always goes back to what matters most. So, Tia?
Yeah, so I feel like I want to just share this little exercise. All of you, reach as high as you can in the room right now. Okay, can you reach just a little bit higher? What about a little bit higher? Okay, see? So did you not hear my first question? Reach as high as you can. I asked you the first time, reach as high as you can. But we all stretched a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. She even said, I'll stand up on the chair. So why do we have these limiting beliefs about ourselves and think, why is it a bad thing to want more in culture today? Why do we think the world is out to get us? Well, some might say it's the devil, some might say it's Lucifer, some might say it's, it's in my family bloodline, we're always going to be addicts, that's just how it is. Right? Why aren't we going to the world saying, I am the answer to what the world needs? To what my daughter needs, I am the answer to rise up and become everything I can become on this planet, to be an example to my daughters so that they could leave a bigger legacy and a bigger impact in the world. And if I could leave you with anything that has been the game changer for Doug and I, is we don't go to the world looking at it like it's out to get us. We go to the world saying, how can I be an answer? How can I bring hope today? Who can I impact at the Starbucks line? Who can I pay for the grocery line now? I literally, it hit me like a 2x4 this past week. We actually had a gathering similar to this with all of our leaders, and one of my best friends, Megan Valentine, we have monsters. Her husband is a monster, Doug is a monster. And, but we also have our own part of a monster within us. And she said something from stage that hit me like a ton of bricks. And if it can do anything to you today, if it's for one person in the room, is that your spouse has your best interest at heart. And I think I allowed at seasons in our life that he didn't have my best interest at heart. And when we've shifted that and we're like, we are our biggest cheerleaders, and maybe if you don't feel like that, that's why you probably both need a coach. You both need to like individually work on things. And Doug and I have found that it has been the key component to our breakthrough, to our success, and the organization we've built today is because we've individually taken personal responsibility, and we don't go into the world thinking about who's going to get us or what's bad up around the corner, but what can we bring to the world, and how can we bring heaven to earth in a sense. I speak from that faith side of things, like how can I be the answer today? Not why, God, but what can I be in service of today? Whether it's in real estate and you're helping a family find their first home, whether it's insurance because that family needs the right insurance plan for their, because they are becoming entrepreneurs and now they have to, I don't know who all the people are in the room, but I'm just saying we're all needed in the world to make us thrive and become the best version and become better as humanity.
Yeah. So
I got my preach on a little bit.
yeah, easy to. Above all else, one of the key things that we have done and continue to purposely do is we protect our marriage at all costs. I feel like we're giving more marriage advice tonight because we're not trying to, other than we're just sharing. When we got us right, our business went 20x, 100x. I'm talking crazy over the last 3 years. And there was some, okay, I'm going to go here. There was some hidden monsters in my closet that I needed to deal with before the massive breakthrough and expansion happened. There was addictions that nobody else knew about. But you know what? You want to know the integrity of a man, look into his wife's eyes. And I had to deal. I needed to face some of these monsters head on, because I knew there was a price to pay for not facing them. And I don't want anyone to think I was out messing around on Thea, because that's not what was going on. But I think we all have some stuff that we're like, man, it's no big deal. I don't want to get into anyone's personal life, but we all have that for whatever it is for you. But what I mean by protect the marriage at all costs was, Thea has always had my back, and even with girlfriends, she has one girlfriend that she opens up about how we're navigating journeys through, and that was a few years ago even. Okay, one girlfriend, and I had a coach that also was in a relationship with her that knew, and it wasn't something that became a conversation out with the guys or things like that. And so it was just identifying those little things that you think is no big deal to the massive expansion of your business or your marriage, but actually it's usually those little things that are some of the biggest. T, do you want to touch on that? Yeah,
I would say, taking full responsibility again in how, I live out my life on a daily basis, and how I honor my husband and how we honor each other. I think, going here in this space with you all is vulnerable, but I do feel like it's essential that it's talked about. There is a couple kids in the room, so I'm gonna try to talk in a high level, but coming together, it is your sexuality, and you coming together is such a key part to overall thriving in your marriage. And so I just encourage you as women to lean into finding wholeness for yourself individually. And I can talk separately off to the side at the end of this, but we have found God has just done such a miraculous work in our connection as a couple, and as we have just become vulnerable with one another and our needs, and just it's been amazing. It's been beautiful what God has done, and His and now we just get to see all the fruits of that because we allowed ourselves to go there and be vulnerable and work in those areas. Now we're seeing couples upon couples upon couples that we get to influence and speak into because of our obedience in being vulnerable in that area. So that's what I want to say and share, because I know there's
another part about just protecting your marriage is as your income grows, sure, we can talk about sometimes the clinger honors or whatever, and that's really actually never usually the problem. It actually comes down to you have a whole different set of problems with sometimes it's family or friends groups or people that you would even associate with. And so over the last 8 years, I would say we really started to notice, and it wasn't just income, it was your desire for more.
Yeah.
Each and every, nobody's hanging out on a Tuesday night in a lot of places, especially in a place called the Greatness Factory, unless you want to be great.
Right.
This is weird. What we're doing tonight, we're weird. We're monsters. How else do you look at it?
Yeah.
We are absolutely crazy because people, like most people, are not here on a Tuesday night or watching this on Facebook Live. And so we found that even sometimes when you start looking around and nobody understands you, that's because sometimes you became the smartest person in the room. And it's not literally the smartest person in the room, the person in the room that probably has the biggest desire for more. And that was a lonely place for a while until we got up and moved. And we went through a couple of key moves. One of them was a physical move from Portland, Oregon down to Scottsdale. But we knew that we needed to rock our comfort zone because life got too good in Portland after 4 years of creating this. Mm-hmm. And part of that was we needed a new group of friends groups and peer group that we could speak into, but also could speak in to us. We moved to Arizona. Our business didn't change, but our business exploded, meaning our business didn't change. The way we did business did not change, but just being around a higher frequency style of people in a more abundant thinking church changed the game for us. And you start hanging out and conversating with people like that. It's amazing how your business starts thriving as well.
I think that's what we shifted. We elevated. For us, that's what we needed to make that decision, that move. It might not be an actual move, but God might be shifting. In a season we've shifted from different churches, and we thought, we don't want to ruffle the feathers, but it was like, no, we needed a shift in order for someone else to rise up, and it was never about that aspect of like, we're leaving this church, but I was just like, we feel like it was. For us, it's been making those shifts in our life, those intentional decisions to say, okay, we've reached this, but we know that there's more, so we're going to take this step. And it did. It elevated us to another level, getting around higher level thinking people. Not that Portland wasn't like that. It wasn't our zone anymore. It wasn't making us rise.
You've seen Portlandia? It's all
Portland.
that it's cracked up to be. All right.
Yeah. So for us, that was a key component that we rose to that occasion. It's actually for our kids. We felt like the environment for that has been huge for them in seeing us elevate to that next level. And that's what I think is so beautiful here. We're building thriving businesses, and we want to see that you're building thriving, marriages and families. That you are never afraid to take that. I call it kick fear in the face. That it came into me one day, and I'm like, okay, I have to kick fear in the face of what people think of me, and fear of really, what if I do become successful? I was afraid of stepping into those shoes. So what if I do become successful? What's on the other side of that? Who can I impact on the other side of that? So I really encourage you to kick fear in the face, to step on the other side of whatever like is limiting you in your mind, because every time Doug and I have intentionally done that over the last, I would say 8 years, since our growth process of becoming, of financial freedom and of time, being able to bless ministries, and right now we're in the process of co-founding an online like global Christian school. So because of the good we're doing in the world, because of the breakthrough, because of making strategic steps when everyone around us is like, you be crazy, like why are you doing that? Like that doesn't even make sense, but we would just do it because we knew in our gut this is the step we needed to make. And now we sit on the other side. It still is hard. We're still on the journey. There's still hard days, but we see the fruit because of our obedience. And so that's where I'm here to say to you, there's more to be had. And it's okay to want more, because on the other side of more are more lives impacted, is maybe nonprofits, it's making the world a better place.
Yeah. So the idea of I don't want really, we won't ask you individually, but we all have businesses or sales platforms or companies that maybe operate at a certain frequency. But maybe my biggest question for you tonight is your marriage and your family operating at that same frequency?
Is it congruent?
And is it congruent with your company values? And I'm not saying breaking up family or company values. I'm just saying we are so often entrepreneurs and monsters like us. We all feel like we are clear on what we want in our business, but are we clear in what we want in our family? Are we clear in what we want in our marriage? And if it's not, then I'd say, why not? I would take a one step back so you can take 5 steps forward, because yes, we had that foundational, we had to refigure us out and rewrite our mission and rewrite our values. But when we do that actually once a year and we take a big step back and go, are we still on point? And here's where I'll kind of, maybe as we wrap up here and Coach Burke can come up here in a couple minutes, is ask yourself, for your marriage and for your family, what do I want? And nobody else has to see these. You can think them in your head, you can put them in notes on your phone, you can write them down if you want. But what do I want? No, what do you really want? Write it all down. What is it that I want? Be selfish here. There's nothing wrong with, I mean, making it about you. What is it that you want for your family? And what is it that you want for your marriage? And then, why do you want it? Often we know what we want, but why do we want that? And I think that's where sometimes, Tia, for you and I, it's been hard to establish the why. Because sometimes that's when the selfishness starts to come in and feel like, well, maybe then we start dealing with am I worthy of it? Do I believe it's possible? This is not a what do you want and a why do you want it from a belief factor. Mm-mm. This is simply this is what I want, and I'm not going to apologize for it. What do I want?
You don't have to believe it either. It's possible.
Why do I want it? And then last but not least, what am I willing to do to get it? What am I willing to do to get it? I can tell you multiple times over the last 8 years, I can't think much before the 8 years, but since we got clear on what we wanted together, I don't know if is anyone Catholic in the room? A few? Awesome. So I have a really cool story. About 5 years ago, I was telling Eric last night, Worldwide Marriage Encounter? Worldwide Marriage Encounter. Have you went through the class? Okay. So I guess it's put on through the Catholic faith. And first of all, it's awesome. But I didn't know that. And so Tia, one night, we were having a challenge in our marriage. And anytime people think counseling is for when you need help, no, it's actually to advance your marriage. And so she, I'll have to end with this. She's like, babe, I found this marriage conference I really think we should go to. I'm like, okay, cool. So I was like, awesome, like thinking marriage weekend. Hey now, that's how the guys start thinking, like a couple days away, this is gonna be good. Yeah. She's like, no, we really just need to talk about some stuff. I'm like, okay. but all the other stuff comes with it, right? So anyway, she didn't tell me where it was. She goes, we're just going to this marriage conference weekend. Where's it at? What's the hotel? Let's go, baby. Well, it's about 10 miles from our house, and all of a sudden we come rolling up, and we go into this Catholic estate, and I'm like, you sure this is the right place? And we go rolling up, and I roll up to the front, and all of a sudden, a Sister Mary or a nun comes out and welcomes us to the weekend. And I'm like, Thea?
What did you get us into?
What did you do? And I'm looking for an exit, like, how do I double, because I'm a good talker.
He is.
How
He's a
can
really
I
good
double
talker.
talk ourselves? Like, babe, we really want to, like, you just want to go to the beach and get a hotel? Like, I'm like, I'll do anything. Now I'm like backpedaling, and she gets out. We're going in. They take us. These two beautiful ladies go wheeling our bags, and we actually stayed in a convent for 2 days. 2 twin beds.
They were pushing
We
you.
slid them together. Let me just tell you, even if you're allowed to as a married couple, you didn't feel right doing nothing in a convent. We were there to learn that weekend. And but the point is that I
You did
knew
what it
that my wife needed to communicate with me. And so I didn't want to be there. I didn't go, but sometimes I just stop and I'm like, all right, let's go. And we laugh about that now, but we learned so much that weekend. But the point was, this is always more important than this. And that's the biggest thing. If we can leave it with you, I mean, it's very simple. We keep our priorities in place, but part of the common goal and the main thing is to literally empower this world to help average people with above average desires become great. And if we do that while protecting what's most important, we're actually fulfilling our mandate and our purpose that we feel like God put us on this earth for. So, Coach, are we going to open up for questions, or are you going to come and speak? Or? Awesome.
Okay, one, give him a hand. Thank you for
You like our marriage story?
Dave, if they talk to you about that retreat, I'm out of that. Okay? All right, now, here's a couple things I want you to think about. What kept coming to my mind in the back for a minute is this. A monster producer does not see their work as an occupation. And this is a big thing for, if you are in partnership with a person that sees their work as their mission in life. They literally see their work as the distribution channel for their talents. They're not getting up and going to work. So if you have an interpretation that though they're just going to work and they're not going to be there, right? That's the big thing I see is a lot of people, if your partner does not understand this, then this is going to be a frustration point for you.
Yep.
Some people see their work as a job. Some people see their work as their calling. And there is a very big difference between those two things.
That's good.
Okay? And when you are on point and on your calling, then what happens is the drive in you, let's just call it pray drive,
Pray dry.
is activated. And that means you are willing to do whatever it takes to be successful. Now, when you say I want to do whatever it takes to be successful, something is going to sacrifice. Would everybody agree with that? Yes or no? Because these guys are people of interest. The higher your person of interest score becomes, the more demand there are people who want to partner with you, do business with you. And what really becomes difficult is, when do I say no? Mm-hmm. Because I can tell you from my experiences and Natalie's experience, I feel like I'm in the prime of my life right now. I feel like I got 10 or 15 years to go do big things in the world. So I very seldom turn down any opportunities. Now, the problem with that is, when do you say no because our daughter hasn't seen me in a week? When do you say no when we haven't had a date night in a month? When do you say no because inside it's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
Like we're hardwired to go all the way, not say no to things. Does that make sense for people? Mm-hmm. So what happens is this becomes a problem for the monster couple. Because I guarantee you, the more they're out there helping people, the more people on their team, the more people's got questions, the more people want a piece of their time, the more people want to come places. And like I said, when you're in this growth phase, like you don't want to stunt that growth. It's like, this is my time, this is my opportunity, right? So I kept thinking about that as a challenge. So I guess my question to you, one question would be, as that's happened to you over the last 5 years, really, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over the last 5 years, your personal mentor score has gone up, your demand has gone up. How do you make decisions based on, no, we don't need to do that? Because one weakness of me is I say yes to everything. And then I think about it after I say yes. And Natalie will say, you didn't even look at your schedule to see you were going to be gone 7 straight days away from your family before you said yes on that deal, right? Like you're in for a day and then you're leaving. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you're right. I shouldn't have done that, or I shouldn't have gone here, or I shouldn't have said yes to that. And then the other part of me is like, how do we make it work? Do we bring Ella Grace with us? One of the things I did last year was purchase an airplane. How do we do this? Where we're all in this, right? Do we take her out of school? Do we travel the world? So one question I would have for you guys is, I'm sure you've got that burning desire to go do something big. You feel like that's your calling.
Yep.
How do you say no to that and prioritize between you and the family? Like, do you say yes and say we're taking the kids with us? Because that's really the point I am in my life. I'm almost to the point of let's go and let's take our daughter with us. Mm-hmm. And if that means we're all going to San Francisco, we're all going to San Francisco together. Does that make sense? Yeah. But that's hard for us to balance that. So you guys talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would say this season we're in, I think as you begin to grow and you have the finances to do it, now we've made a fundamental decision that we want to have an integrated family and life. And so we do take our kids with us. But I would say we have our best yes. So it got messy. I would say I remember the messy season where we would double book, or I'd be like, oh crap, I'm supposed to be on another Zoom and I'm on this Zoom. Zoom is a video chat thing. I'm like, I'm in a video chat and I'm supposed to be in another one. Or, I booked to go to this event and I actually booked at another. So it had to I think we all get to that place where you're like in that, can I do this? Like, can I do it all? And then I think something magical happens where you're like, okay, what matters most? And what do I want to create? So I think all of us I remember that, babe. I remember the messy season. So maybe talk a little bit about that. Because
the messy season, and we call the messy season anytime you are grinding and your frequency and you're going all out in pursuit of something. But our messy season was agreed upon that this is a common theme right now, that we're going to do this for 3 months. And we might be backing date night down to just once every 2 weeks instead of once a week. Or if you're at once every 2 weeks, you're moving it to once a month. But you're making sure that we're at least going to have coffee together during this time. And this is a non-negotiable at 5:30 a.m. We're going to spend this time together for 20 minutes.
Even if you don't like to wake up early, ladies.
Yeah, because the marriage is important. And so I would find times and things like that. But here's the important one, the kids. Okay, when we were going for a huge goal in our business, we brought the kids into this goal. And we said, hey, you're going to see mom and dad on the phone a little bit more. And this is about 5 years ago, guys. Okay, we were probably making a couple $100,000 a year at the time. We were growing a team, but we had some massive goals. But we could begin, they were starting to see the light. They were starting to see mom and dad home more. Dad's happier, he's healthier. They're starting to see some rewards. But I'm like, girls, the next 6 months are going to be crazy. Okay, we're going to be doing this, we're going to be doing that. You're going to see me on the phone a little bit more. Mom's going to be the only one putting you to bed just for this season. But on the other side of it, we promised as soon, whatever comes first, when we hit this goal, or by September 20, I think it was 24th or 27th, we're going to Disneyland as a family. And we're going to celebrate the hard work as a family. So we got buy-in. Yeah. We got buy-in from what matters most that said, this is a family goal. Now, my role was to be on the phone more. Their role was to self-occupy just a little bit more. But the family goal, hey, we get to do some extra things because also the work that I did this season is still making up for that messy season. So that'd be a little bit.
All right, so one thing I hear, one of my favorite sayings is success in one role doesn't justify failure in another.
That's good.
Yeah.
Everybody hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't just want to be a successful entrepreneur and a lousy husband. I don't want to be a successful entrepreneur and a lousy husband. I don't want to be a successful entrepreneur and a lousy dad. You understand what I'm saying? So when you think about this, I want you to think about a term called intentional congruence. And intentional congruence is where all parts of your life feed all parts of your life. Now, let me say what I mean by that. What they're doing now with them both in the business, now they have built a life that they both can utilize their talents within their life and in their business. Okay? That's intentional congruence. For example, my wife, for one of her talents is hospitality. She loves entertaining people. She loves planning. She loves cooking. She is so good at that. So I'm stepping back as a coach and I'm going, how do I build my business in a way that she gets to do what she's great at and I get to do what I'm great at? Hence the concept of the retreats. So we started purchasing retreat sites, one in Florida. We're working on another one right now that's under contract, so that I can do my coaching and she can do her hospitality. Does that make sense? And we're both winning. We're both leveraging our talents. And we're just getting to do, so we're both getting a win here. Yep. It's not like, hey, I'm going to do what I want to do, and you got to sit over inside and watch me be happy. It's like, what makes you happy brings you joy and passion as part of your talents. What are part of my talents? How do we combo those talents together into a business that is profitable? So it's making us money, we're happy, we're excited. So talk about how you guys do that, because you have your talents, she has her talents. In the old model, you went to your work,
right.
She did her work, and everybody see how those were separate? They were not included with each other.
Right.
I'm talking about if you're a true entrepreneur, you're building a structure. Listen, it's your life. This ain't no practice life. If you say, I'm going to build a life that includes this, you love going on cruises. How do you go on cruises and make money? You understand what I'm saying? How do you build this business that supports your life, not runs your life? Everybody see the difference? Most small business owners I coach, their business runs their life. They're tired, they're exhausted, they're mad, they're frustrated. Who do they take it out on? Their spouse. I've been guilty of that. Okay? So then I'm like, how do I design a life that allows us to do all of this, be very lucrative to us, allow us to include our daughter, and we're co-creating our life. We're designing our life together. We're not just getting up and doing this. Everybody see that? And every person in this room could do this. Okay? So talk a little bit about how you guys include each other's talents to build this very successful enterprise that you built.
Well, Tia's a connector. She's a relationship gal. Somebody asked her one time on a bus, and it's kind of been a running joke ever since. Tia, how do you define a relationship? That was the question. There actually was on a bus. There was about 50 people on the bus, and they were all firing questions at Tia. So how do you? Can I say they actually asked my elevator pitch? Yeah, they asked, "What's your elevator pitch?"
And I'm like, "Excuse me," and then it was like the relation. And then I said, "You mean like how do I build relationships?"
Yeah. And she's like, "I take people to dinner," and they're like, "What?" Well, her connection is acts of service and love, and making a meaningful connection, taking someone a coffee, bringing it into work. She probably knew what you guys all like to drink yesterday. She would have showed up with exactly your drink, not for anything, just because she loves to make a key connection. Well, I'm a developer. In the furniture business, I was a sales. I ran more of a sales development role, and so I've realized that those talents transferred into my coaching business now is that she's a connector. She brings them in. She makes a key connection, or we might have an event, at a hotel or a place downtown, or once in a while at our house. We don't do that as much anymore for different reasons, but we might have a key event, and she'll do the connection role. But then I'll turn around and maybe my goal, my job is to meet the spouse, or to do it that way. Tia?
Yeah, I am definitely the connector, and I meet people, and I see you when I'm in a I see you right here. I don't see anyone else. Where Doug literally can read the whole room, and that's different giftings, So when I'm at different events and stuff, I always have to have kind of wing person, because I would be with you all night long because I just love getting to know people. So we use those skill sets to build and equip people and invest in people. Like when people ask us what we do, we're investors in people. And so we use those gifts and those skills. We don't look at it as, God, Doug, can't you just be with that one person? I look at it like that is his gifting. He can read a room. He can discern things. He knows like we probably, we got to get out of here,
Who
babe.
to avoid and who to talk to. How about
And
that?
and then there's times where he can like let me just be with that person because he knows that's exactly where she needs to be. So it's benefited us. It's how we've worked to build the empire we've built
really,
today.
Coach, it's finding your dance.
Yep.
Each one of us are different.
Yeah.
So it's finding your dance. But we're going to dance in the same direction, but we're both going to look a little different, and we're okay, and we're trusting that the other one is being mentored. And I want to back up on something, because some people try to coach their spouse. You need to do this, and you should do that, and you ought to be doing more than that. And what happens is you're shoulding all over each other. And instead, we made a conscious decision to say, and it's hard sometimes when you see something that Tia ought to be doing, I'm like,
Or he should be doing.
you should go call coach. You should go, you know what I'm saying? You should go call your coach, because I respect the marriage more than I want to
Get your point across.
to get my point across, and that's hard. I don't always do that well. This is something that we're still working on, but we try to honor the marriage when I know she's not going to hear it, or it starts to get to that friction level. It's like, I'm going to wait and I'm going to approach this a different way another time, and I try to do that, and her with me. Or it's just like, you should go call Terry about that. And kind of walk away like, I ain't touching this thing. So.
Well, I think about that. I woke up one morning and it was early. I think I said something like, I need some encouragement. I couldn't get out of bed. I was trying to get to the gym to work out. And I could have swore that I told my wife I needed some encouragement. And I think she said, then why don't you watch some of your videos?
I love it.
Don't think I would go use that one.
I love it.
Here's the point. Here's the point on that, on coaching each other. She'll say, look, I'm not paying you to coach me. Right?
Right.
Although we're coaches, I'm not paying you to coach me. I'm your husband. I'm your wife. You're my husband. And I think that's important. Now, I want to end with this one thing, and don't take any questions. One of the biggest things I see is, I was thinking about this with Derek today, because Derek was with me today on the bus. And one of the things I love about Meredith and Derek is when nothing's off the table as far as opportunity goes when you're with Derek God. There's no idea too big. There's no money you can't raise. That's what I love about leveling up with couples. When you get around these other couples, stuff that used to be limitations to you are no longer limitations to you. It's like there's no idea that we can't tackle. Everybody understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is why it's very important that you do this together. When me and my wife are around him and his wife, and we're talking ideas, there's no idea that's off the table. I don't care if it's raising $20 million. We can do it. Everybody understand what I'm saying? We have surrounded ourselves with people in the past that, like, listen, the biggest thing we wanted to do was go out and drink, or goof off, or waste a weekend. You understand what I'm saying? There's a time and place for that. But when you get around these couples that level up, they're challenging you. They're inspiring you. They're encouraging you. And you're like, man, he's right. We can play at a bigger level, right? So one of the biggest things I see I want to ask these guys is the concept of protecting your spouse's confidence. Because can't we all agree that your spouse or partner, one of their number one assets that they have is their confidence and their ability to go do something? Yes or no?
Yep.
What I have seen sometimes is a person go out into the market and get a lot of confidence and then go home only to have the spouse erode that confidence. Does that make sense? Like to me in my daily work, I get to be a little hero to people. So you can imagine how deflating it would be if I was a hero to people all day long, and then I go home and my wife I'm not a hero to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's chipping away at my confidence. And so I'm strong in one area, professionally, and then I'm weak in another. It's like when I go home, man, my wife beat me up. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? That's too big. Don't take any risk. You see the conflicting messages? Now, in some cases, that can make a man want to do what? Spend all his time doing what? Working. Because over here at work, I get rewarded. These people think I'm a hero to them. I come home and I'm not a hero to you. I've heard T.D. Jakes talk about this. Everywhere he went, he was Pastor T.D. Jakes, and people talk, right? And then he said, I'd go home and my wife, I was just T.D. I was just plain old T.D. But everywhere I went, I was Bishop Jakes, and people were treating me a certain way. So talk about how you guys protect each other's confidence. I don't think sometimes spouses understand how they chip away at their spouse's confidence. A negative dig, a negative comment, a little jab. You know what I'm saying? This can really, what takes years to build up can take seconds to tear down. Right? How many of you have lost your confidence at some point?
Yeah.
I have. And I wrote a book on confidence. And I've lost every bit of my confidence before. And that's tough, man, when you lose your confidence, because that's the number one asset you got. So how do you guys protect each other's, I call it swag. How do you protect each other's swag?
I think, I would say, ooh, echo. We're journeying with you in this area, and to be completely vulnerable. When I asked you to stretch as high as you could, and then stretch higher. This past season, as I've seen Doug come alive by watching all these 10X and all these, men that are just out there doing things, it's what I've prayed for, you guys. Like, women, it's like the power of a praying wife. All these books we've prayed for our husbands, all of a sudden they're becoming that. And then we don't know what to do. So what I've really protected about Doug, and probably I would say I've done better in the last 6 months, is, just protecting that time and just making him feel loved. Like, how can I serve him? Whether it's can I share about at the convention?
Sure.
Like he's taking these ice baths now to stay his inflammation down because he's speaking 3 times a day on these conferences, and versus being God, why are you taking an ice bath? That's crazy. Can I go get some ice for you, babe? How can I help you? I mean, we just help each other out, and I'm here to say in the room, I haven't figured this all out, but I know the man that Doug is becoming and is stepping into is what I've prayed for the last 17 years, almost 18 years of our marriage. So why do I feel a sense of, wanting to backpedal? And so Coach Burt, this is an area that is so essential, that I think that finding that dance and just honoring one another.
Well, and Tia can tell you, this was not me even a few years ago.
No.
I keep everything purposely. I have not went back and cleaned up my Facebook or my Instagram. Why? Because it's part of my story. And so, if you go back in my Facebook, all the way deep down back in albums, you can see the person I was 8 and 7 and 6 years ago, and you can see the person I've become. But part of what Tia does is what we do is we understand each other's love languages, but I'm talking hot and trigger buttons. She knows that I live in truth. I hate lies. I can't tell a lie. You'll see it on my face if I'm lying. So she knows that I need truth. So if I ask her, hey, on Saturday, how did you think that session went to, those 4,000 coaches when I was speaking on a certain topic? And I'm not looking for, oh, babe, you did it so good. She knows I'm looking for either you nailed it and here's why, or it was incredible. However, when you started to go on that one story, I could tell you were dancing around it. Were you? Because if she doesn't give me that feedback, to me, I can't trust her. However, she doesn't turn around and come and ask me, Doug, how did I do tonight? So I also know that I'm careful to give her feedback until she asks for it or she's ready for it. And if it was good, I'm going to always tell her amazing and why it was amazing. But I know she's not looking for but you could have done this better unless she asks for it.
No, I'm not.
Okay, there will come a time that we even might talk about it.
But they are.
I ain't liking this at all. I'm going to tell you.
It's getting hot in here.
Last night, Kelly made a pork chop, and I'm like, woo, this is the best pork chop you ever made. Yeah, I'm like, all those other pork chops, they weren't very good. This was good. I don't know what you did. It was good.
That's good.
So they got a lot of things here. All right, here, I'm looking around the room, and I'm just looking around people, and you do understand how much your personality plays into this, don't you? If you've never studied your personality profiles, whether it be the DISC profile it would be worth the $63 for you to spend to take that.
Yep.
Because if you don't understand, this is how God made you. I remember taking the disc profile and asking the expert, like, why am I like this? And you know what he said? I wouldn't ask that question. This is who you are. Now your wife will either be able to live with who you are, right? Now this is how God made you. Okay? So if you haven't taken the time to understand the personality that you're married to, if you're living with a monster, but they frustrate you, then they're going to frustrate you because that's how they were hardwired. To go and push and drive and stretch and dream and push the envelope, man. When you talk about what's enough, there's no way for us to answer that question. I look at Tom Hodges and Hillary and the journey they've been on in their life, where Tom was probably working. How many hours a week were you working when you were a coach at middle? 80 to 90 hours. And listen, that's just what you have to do to be great at that level. I've been there. 80 hours a week. Well, how do you have a healthy family life when you're working 80, 90 hours a week, right? I've been there. When Derek was gone for 4 years and was home for 12 nights in 4 years to build the business he has today, you understand what kind of struggle that is, right? But that's that drive between, how do you go out and do something big in the world? And I think tonight these guys have really come in and helped us see how they're doing it. They're on an incredibly successful business. I feel like they're in great alignment. I feel like they're in one accord with each other. Are they perfect? No, none of us are. But they're getting better and they're very vulnerable with their stories. So I'd like to end tonight by letting, at your table, what I'd like to do is tell your spouse that you're with, what's one thing from tonight that you're going to take with you? And for some of you, maybe your husband drug you here, maybe your wife drug you here. It's almost like dragging somebody to church, But here's the deal. They brought you here because they want you to go. When you two get on the same page with each other, look at what happened to them. When they got on one accord with each other, their business has done nothing but, listen, they could be gone. How long could you be gone right now and your business still running?
We were in Europe for 35 days.
They went to Europe for 35 days. They did tell me 35 is too long to go.
Yeah, we learned.
But here's the deal. How many of you could step away from your business for 35 days and go do whatever you want to? Now think about that. When you really build a successful business, that successful business should give you excess cash and give you the freedom to do whatever you want to. Does that make sense? It's not where you got it, right? We're all trying to get that. I don't have what they've got right now. I still got to show up and, do the dance. We're trying to build that. So they've accomplished something here at a very early age that's very impressive. So I want to thank you and honor you for coming tonight. These guys have been great. Don't you agree?
Thank you.
Now, let's finish this tonight by telling your partner, spouse, tell the person with you, what's the big takeaway? I've got my takeaways. What are the big takeaways for you that you want to take away from tonight? That you say, you know what, that was a
My big
strong
takeaway
night.
is